Belmont did not begin to evolve as a discernible settlement, and nor did it even exist as a place name until the late 19th century. The many Victorian terrace cottages and Edwardian villas in Belmont are testament to its early development. In the middle of the 19th century, the district that now constitutes Belmont was a rural backwater with approximately a dozen scattered households. Notable properties were the California Arms Public House in Brighton Road, which was then a turnpike road, the Turf Cottage horse racing training stables in Cotswold Road, and further to the east, Clapham Lodge, now number 13 Bawtry Close, a Grade 2 listed building. To the north was Sutton Lodge, now number 139 Brighton Road. This was the seat of local farmer and landowner John Overton, whose large farm included the majority of the land to the east of Brighton Road, between Downs Road and Egmont Road. This area was then known as Sutton Downs. There were a number of agricultural labourers' cottages in the Downs Road neighbourhood, a few of which still exist, namely numbers 99-101 Downs Road, pictured here, numbers 137 and 139 Downs Road, and numbers 11-13 Cotswold Road. The part of modern-day Belmont to the west of Brighton Road was then known as Cheam Downs. An isolated farmstead, Cheam Folly, existed at what is now the corner of Station Road and Avenue Road, and formed part of the southern extent of East Cheam Farm. At this time, Sutton and Cheam were still villages, and their parish populations totalled less than 3,000 people. In the early 1850s, the South Metropolitan District School was constructed on a site that is now occupied by the Belmont Heights housing estate. This large poor law institution accommodated about 900 orphaned, abandoned and workhouse children from South East London. It formed an imposing structure on the landscape. However, despite its size, the school did not lead to nearby development because it was very much a self-contained affair and all the staff resided on site. The Banstead and Epsom Downs Railway, built to serve Epsom Downs Racecourse, was completed in May 1865. The first station on this extant branch line from Sutton is at Belmont. Because Belmont did not exist at this time, however, the station adopted the name of the public house opposite and therefore was originally called California Station. In 1875, the railway station was renamed Belmont Station. This is how the village that emerged in the late Victorian period acquired its name. The nearby Banstead Asylum opened across the Downs in 1877. It was huge, accommodating nearly 1,500 inmates. An establishment of this size naturally required a substantial workforce. Although most of the staff lived in purpose-built accommodation on the asylum's premises, the provision was limited. The resulting housing demand locally proved to be the catalyst for the first significant building activity to occur in the Belmont area. The first substantial residential development in Belmont occurred in the 1880s. Mostly comprising small terraces, much of the initial housing appeared in Downs Road, its relative proximity to the asylum making it an obvious location. 2 mission halls were erected, both in the lower part of Downs Road. The first properties in Station Road, Belmont Road, Kings Road and the Crescent, all new roads, were also built at this time. The area now referred to as Belmont Village was originally the core of a prospective new residential district called the Belmont Estate. In 1891, Belmont had 460 inhabitants, according to the census of that year. The population had therefore more than doubled over the previous decade. It was clear that a new village was starting to emerge, although one still in its infancy. A burgeoning Belmont grew even more dramatically in the mid to late 1890s. Early Belmont was essentially a village colony to Banstead Asylum, which had replaced agriculture as the principal local industry. Local schools opened in 1896 Cotswold Road and 1902 Avenue Road, now Hopscotch Day Nursery. At the beginning of the last century, Belmont had over 200 properties and a population of about 1,000. The number of staff and patients at Banstead Asylum had also continued to rise to in excess of 300 and 2,400 respectively. The Belmont area was still largely undeveloped at this time though. In Station Road, for example, there were only 6 shops and a sizable proportion of the district was farmland. Belmont flourished in the Edwardian era. Its residential and commercial centre firmly shifted to the west side of the railway line as more of the land available at the Belmont estate became utilised. Belmont witnessed a significant housing boom between 1904 and 1908. More than 100 properties were built in these years alone. Most of the shops in Station Road date to this period. Residential development occurred in hitherto undeveloped parts of the area, such as Burden Lane, Cotswold Road, and new roads Clifton Avenue, Pelton Avenue and the Drive. Belmont became a separate Church of England mission district in 1908. By 1910, the population of Belmont had grown to around 1,500 inhabitants. Much of modern-day Belmont had been built by the time of the outbreak of the First World War in 1914. The following year, St John's Church and the Nonconformist Church moved to new permanent premises, both in Station Road. In the 1920s and 1930s, Belmont, like so much of the country, experienced massed residential expansion. Housing estates were constructed in South Cheam and near Banstead Road South, on the periphery of Belmont. The houses in Queen's Road, Avenue Road and Holland Avenue also generally date to the interwar era. Most of Belmont's original built environment survives as there has been limited redevelopment. In 2004, the London Borough of Sutton designated the Crescent, Belmont Road and King's Road as areas of special local character. The council are currently reviewing the borough's local list, which comprises buildings that, although not warranting statutory grade listing, have local merit due to historical or architectural importance. At present, the borough's local list only consists of about 30 buildings and features. This contrasts with the London Borough of Croydon, which has over 900. Earlier this year, the Belmont Local History Group submitted a dossier nominating about a dozen buildings, or groups of buildings, in the Belmont area for local listing. A few heritage plaques will shortly be erected in Belmont.